There are a lot of struggling laundromats out there, and these owners are desperate to improve them. One of the reasons is data. And when I say data, lack of information. And one of the reasons I see this lack of information is the questions that they pose when they're around other operators who are running successful operations. And this is a great opportunity for them to get information from them to apply on their business. But here's a common question I hear asked over and over. How many stores do you have? I believe that is the wrong question to be asking. What do you really learn from the number of stores someone has? I believe it's just an ego question and an answer question. The number of stores doesn't really give you an insight into the operations, the economics, profitability, and the potential success of that business. Number of stores does not mean success or high revenue. It just means one thing. They got a lot of stores. Let's think about some businesses that had a lot of locations that we might have perceived, or we were under the perception that they were doing well. But when it became public information, they really weren't. Let's think of Red Lobster's. Huge chain, been around decades. Closed many locations recently. Applebee's is another one. Wendy's closed 140 locations by the end of 2024. Denny's is scheduled to close roughly 150 locations by the end of 2025. Rite Aid closed 77 locations in 2024 right after they filed bankruptcy. Think about it. These are brands and names that are iconic to some of us and been around for decades. Some of us grew up around those, and they're closing. So the number of locations is not always a true indicator of success. Yes, you can learn something from someone or a business that has numerous locations, but that shouldn't be the key question that we start a conversation with. Right? Let me give you an example in laundry. And these are operators that I know. One operator I know of and has 8 locations. Pretty good if you think about it. You're like, wow, he's got 8 locations. Very good indicator to the current metrics that people are going by when we're at our conferences and we have these meetups and you ask someone the number of locations they have. His average store does about $325,000, and we're talking gross per year. So if we do the math on that, we're looking at $2.6 million for the year. It's nothing to sneeze at. I don't know what his profit margins are, but we're talking gross numbers here, $2.6 million a year. Now let's take a second operator that I know. This operator has only 4 locations, 50% less than the first operator. Their stores do an average of $750,000 gross per year. And they're also in a city that's the populated area, not as densely populated as the first operator owner. They're doing $3 million gross a year. Now think about that for a minute. Half the amount of stores and more revenue. Classic example of what we're talking about here, about asking the right questions to learn more. Less locations, higher revenues, less operating costs, less overhead. They're doing half the work that operator's doing. Imagine you're managing 8 locations versus 4. Workload is totally different between the two. Now, when we think about it, the questions we really should be asking when we're getting together with other owners and operators to improve our stores is gross revenue questions. What is your gross revenue for the week, for the month, for the year? What is your revenue per square foot? Like, think retail. In franchise, they look at what is the revenue per square foot for a location. Think about that. Here's one that we could apply, and I wrote about it in the editorial of Wash Weekly. Average revenue per machine. Ladies and gentlemen, our business has washers and dryers that our clients come in to use. Why aren't we looking at how much revenue each machine needs to generate versus what it is generating for your store to be at the numbers you want it and need it to be? Think about that for a second. We talk about turns per day a lot in our industry, and that's a whole nother conversation we can have, because turns per day, in my opinion, right? And I'm no guru, I'm no laundromat genius, But turns per day is right up there with how many stores do you have? Because I can have 8 turns, but if my VIN prices are super low and you've got 5 turns per day, but you've got higher VIN prices, you're going to bring in more revenue than I am, or comparable to the revenue I'm bringing in at 8 turns, which is more strain on my machines, more work for my staff, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So as we close this out, let's really take a minute and really think about the next time we're interacting at a conference or a connect or online, or we're just on the phone with another operator. We're really wanting to learn from them. Let's ask the questions that really give us a deeper dive into it. What are the revenues, right? What are their margins? What percentage are they spending on labor, utilities, etc.? Understanding those numbers and those breakdowns will give you better insights into how someone else's business is doing and how you can apply what they're doing to your business. So I encourage you to have those conversations. And I know some of you are saying, well, Lee, those are tough conversations because people are super private with their numbers. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we really need to face the facts. If someone else is in another state or in another borough here in the cities, right, or in another township, what's the chances their store is going to be competing with yours? And when I look at other industries, and I'll use franchising, the food side of it, because we have some experience there and insights there, they are very open, the operators, when they come together and talk about the numbers that they're doing to enlighten each other. So let's take that information, use it the right way to grow our business and have some more open dialogues.